Number one is my sister. My sister's experience living in the hospital, like day to day, I never understood how much that really impacted me. For those who don't know, my sister had leukemia, and you know, we were living day to day in the hospital. That was one thing that strongly impacted me because, you know, her life was never guaranteed in the beginning stage of life, right? Like, and I never really understood it because I would live day to day in the hospital, and I would hang out with other kids who had brain cancer, you know, like, and to this day they send us thank you cards or Christmas cards, because this kid he had a brain tumor and he was actually gonna pass away. Legit, they gave him a couple months to live. I would play PlayStation with him every single day I got there. I didn't know. I had no idea that the kid had brain cancer. So they sent over a thank you card every single year because he's in remission. He completely passed and went through cancer, and that was one portion of my life. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here at Neighborhood Loans, and we're back with another episode of Cafecito Talks, and this is going to be something that really special episode for me because these are the people who have been there since day one, saw the entire journey and everything, and honestly, we've all seen each other grow within this company, and it's beautiful to kind of see every single day, to be around people who are very supportive. And honestly, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in without the people around me right now. That's why I always say your circle is super important. Obviously, we're in the cigar lounge, so you know who the number one guest is. Okay, my wonderful, wonderful mentor is here. And then two other guests, they are the body of the company. Without them, the loans are not going to be closing. So I'm super proud to introduce Deliela and then Esperanza. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Of course,
we love the fact that you're including us in your circle. I love that.
No, I mean, you guys saw everything. Like,
yes.
You guys seen the beginning of it. I mean, I remember, you know, I was an intern when you first got hired, and then obviously a lot of boo-boos. My first day as an intern, I was shadowing Deliela. And everything happened.
And again, he knows how to get me out. You know, he's cigar, tequila, and this is like my poison. So as soon as he said we're back, I'm like, all right, let's do it. So, but it was very tough to get these two ladies out because they don't enjoy smoke. So to have them here really means a lot to us. So we appreciate you.
If I get a headache, I'll be calling off tomorrow.
Only for Justin do we sacrifice our hair.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the hair?
It's our hair.
See, that's the part I didn't know. It's the hair.
Yes.
When you cigarette, that smoke gets into your hair, and it's forever.
It's not the same.
Forever to take
It's
out.
easy for men because your hair is so short. You could wash it in 2 seconds and go. It takes me an hour. I have to wash it, dry it, straighten it. That is an hour of my day. You know how many loans I could close in an hour? Ay, Dios mío. This man.
Well, to give everybody a background, right? Like, I don't think people understand how much and how important you guys are to the company overall, right? Like, into the whole loan process. But give people a background on what you guys do, and then your journey on how you guys got to the position that you guys are in.
Sure. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I am the regional processing manager for Neighborhood Loans. I manage the Chicago North area. How I started back in a long time ago, back in 1996, fresh out of high school, I was working at Yojo's hot dog stand on Addison and Oak Park. And my husband's friend worked for a mortgage company, and she was very insulted that I worked at a hot dog stand. So she got me an interview with the mortgage company. Within a week, I was offered a position as a processor. Didn't know anything about the mortgage industry, but, you know, unfortunately, you know, in this industry, it's sink or swim. You just kind of have to go in there and try to figure it out. And that's exactly what. Loved it, stayed in my veins. I mean, like, this is an industry that you either have to love or you're not going to succeed. You have to have passion for it. Just because it's so demanding, it could be extremely uplifting. It could be very depressing, right? It depends. You just have to kind of go with the wave and, you know, and hope for the best. I've been with a few companies. I was always on the mortgage broker side. Neighborhood Loans was my first lender experience. And actually my interview was with Dwight. And him and I, for whatever reason, clicked. You know, we had the same mindset, the same ideas, the same work ethic. For whatever reason, he saw something in me that he liked.
I'm a pretty good real character. You got to give me a little bit because she did meet with someone else that wasn't too fond about her. But you have to understand, we came from a processor who was, again, it was someone that I knew from Wells Fargo that came to us that was here. So she was a very high producing, very, top processor. And a couple of things happened, and, everyone was up in arms because once the processor leaves, that's really the backbone of your business. And she wasn't feeling as satisfied as I would expect her to be. And it's okay. Everyone makes decisions as based on what's right for their family. And I said, okay, you can go, and I didn't fight for her, which something that I've been told I lack of, I guess, but you don't want to be with me. That's it, but a blessing in disguise. I think everything happens for a reason. And that's when Espy came in, and it's been the best decision I've ever made. Was I afraid? Absolutely. Because once you let someone at that level go, that's very high demanding from your guys, your loan officers, they feel like they're going to sink without a life vest. And she was more than a life vest. She's been the rock for us. She came in as a boat and saved everybody, so everything happened for a reason. I'm glad everything turned out the way it is, but it's how everything she's put in place, which is why she's grown so much in the company.
And I appreciate that. I think that the reason that I'm successful is because, a long time ago, I've originated as well. Back in the day, I made a lot of money as an originator, but it is a very difficult position to be in, especially because you're commission only, when you're trying to raise a family, when you're the sole source of income. It is extremely difficult to be able to maintain that. And personally, sales was not my passion. And if you're not passionate about what you do, you're never going to succeed at it fully. Did I make a lot of money? Absolutely. Was I happy? No. So I went back to processing. And one of the things that the first person who hired me, Steve Schrager, kind of my mentor at the time, right? What he told me was, in order for you to be successful, you have to surround yourself by successful people, right? You have to make sure that you surround yourself by people who are going to lift you, who are going to motivate you, and who are going to work just as hard as you do. And I've always lived by that. And when I met Dwight, it was like a kindred spirit, right? You could tell he loves what he does. You could tell he thrives in growing people, right? And pushing you to be the best. And I fed off of that. Right. So if I'm successful, I owe it to him. I really do, because he makes sure that he's constantly pushing us. You see us in the office. Is it always happy? No, but we push each other.
No, I mean, to bounce back off what you're saying, right? Like him and I had a conversation recently, and he said something that everything he says, it sticks with me. Honestly, anybody, I love to listen to people just overall, right? And he told me, because obviously I'm a very ambitious person. Like for me, everything that, like you said, do you love what you do? Are you passionate? Are you going to stay in it because you're passionate? Yeah, I fucking love what I do. I do it on a daily basis, and I wouldn't skip a beat. I would love to continue to do this for years to come. But he said something, do you want to be a top producing LO or a happy LO? And that's where it's like, you kind of take a look at it, regardless of what form of sales that you're doing, right? That's so true. Like you got to figure out that you got to find out that point in time, like, and I've been watching this show called Starting Five, right? You start looking at NBA players and their own personal lives, and you realize how much they sacrifice to be an NBA player, how much time they get away from their family, how much time, that they dedicate just to be in the NBA. And the immediate thing that I started thinking about is like, okay, how much time do you want to allocate towards this? Because honestly, if I was single 9 to 9, I'd be every single day. I would dedicate to it because I didn't have anything to look forward to. But the more that you grow, the more that you have more time with your family, the more time that you spend with your family, and you realize like, oh damn, these moments right now are what I work for, what I work toward, right? Like now that I have a house, that was another thing where it's like a milestone to be able to be home, to be able to build, to be able to see your daughter start walking in the house and her excitement in the house, and see my girl being in the house and decorating it and being excited. Those are the moments that like, oh wait, these are the moments why I've been working so hard, so I can enjoy and fulfill these moments. And those to me were super fulfilling. And when I'm watching the show though, that's the first thing where you're thinking about is like, man, these guys are dedicating their entire life to the sport. Now where do I want to be? Like what do I want to be? And don't get me wrong, I also don't want to live a life of what if. Like I never want to be 35 years old. Okay, a lot of people that I talk to they're older than me, like the first thing they say is like, the first thing I remember when I was young, I had all the energy in the world. I was physically, I was able to do anything. Mentally, I was able to do anything, but I don't feel as if I pushed myself to that, my capability that I know I could have, right? Like, and so for me right now, I want to be 35 years old and be like, okay, I gave it 1,000% in every single thing, whether it be my family, whether it be just this business overall. So that way, when I am 35, I knew I gave it everything. There's nothing else that I left on the table. But that's another thing that, the more people that I talk to is just figuring out how much do you want to dedicate into this field, because you can dedicate everything.
Yeah,
You can give everything. Yeah.
It definitely would take a lot. I think that 2 of my marriages failed because of the industry, because you give a lot. You give and you give. I worked a lot. I was a closer, very high demanding position. I worked long hours. I remember getting up at, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, roll out of bed, work a little bit before even getting into the office, driving into the office, and then getting into the office and working. As a closer, I always say, it's a good thing and a bad thing. You don't get very much time with the loan. So it's kind of nice because as a processor, you're with the loan for a while and you're going through the roller coaster of the ups and downs and all of that. As a closer, you don't get that. You get a loan usually within 20 or 48 hours and you're closing that. But then that's the demand of it, that you don't have much time with the loan. So you tend to work long hours. You tend to, put stuff aside. And, you're working and you get caught up in that moment and you got that goal and you got that focus and you're just trying to fulfill something. I didn't think I was ambitious before, but looking back, I was like, because I wanted to be that top closer. I always wanted to have that top closing spot. I always had to be number 3 in the company of closers. So I worked my butt off to get there. I was always working late. I was always making sure, Deliela, can you take? Yes, I'll take that rush. Yes, I'll take that rush. Yes, I'll take that rush. Even knowing that, I already had a plate full of rushes and that means I was going to work till 11, 12 o'clock at night. I didn't care. So yeah, you do have to find that balance, because if not, you will, it sucks you in. I hate to say, sometimes you get sucked into your job and you put in a lot. And some companies don't appreciate all that. I worked for a company that did not appreciate all the long hours I was working, all the time I was putting into it, the position I was doing for free for them to try to prove myself. It wasn't appreciated. And now, so then you look back and you say, well, what?
But are you happy because they didn't appreciate it? Because if they did appreciate it, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yes. Yes, you look back and you say, thank God, thank God they didn't appreciate me, because things happen for a reason. I'm in a better place. I work with people I love, I care for, I want to succeed. So yeah, you look back and you say,
Because by the way, they're like non-existent anymore. They pretty much laid everyone off. So you would have been out of a job right now. So
I guess I did the perfect thing. But at the time when you're busting your ass and you're doing all of that, and you're trying to prove yourself, and you don't feel appreciated, that's the worst position I think for anybody to be in. And it's easy to get sucked into it. Sometimes I look at it and I tell myself, wow, I did all that for what? Well, but.
And that's the whole reason why I think the point of this I like this environment right here, because you guys all understand the grind to get to the position that you are at. Like, a lot of people want to see the mountaintop all the way on top of the view, but they don't want to climb up the mountain. Right? Like, no one wants to see that. And I think that's something that right now is really hard for people who are within this industry or anything. It's hard for them to understand or comprehend how to actually grow in any industry. Because when people are getting in the industry, they automatically assume that they're going to get some sort of instant gratification. Because, again, we live in a society where everything right now is that instant gratification. Right. We can go on TikTok right now and look at all the things that we want to see and get things instantly. But unfortunately, that's not how the path is, right? People might look at me and be like, oh, my God, he did it overnight. Maybe I could do the same. But they didn't see, like, I was an intern for 2 years, right? Like, I was working under you guys. I was working as a loan partner for him. And it looks like everything happened so quickly and it happened overnight. In reality, I dedicated 4 or 5 years into this industry, and I was just a sponge. I was a student. And, again, I got blessed. You know, you look at the LeBrons, the Michael Jordans of the world. They got blessed with genetics. They got blessed with a great team, great coach. I got blessed with a great team and a great coach, right? Like that's not a secret. But I applied everything that you guys taught me to my life and how I can, you know, kind of soak in and bring forth.
You
Right.
listen
That
and you
too.
still discipline.
What sets you aside from or apart from the others, right? I think too is the fact that you're hungry for it. You know what I mean? And then we talked about passion. There, you know, you don't see that passion in a lot of people. A lot of people want it, right? A lot of people are jealous that you've gotten to the success that you've reached the success that you've reached. You know, and they always assume it's because of your uncle or because all things are so easy for Justin. They don't see, like you said, the grind. They don't see how dedicated you are, that you work, you know, sometimes 24/7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you want to learn and you ask the questions and you're stubborn and you push and you push and you push until somebody can explain to you why the answer is no. You just don't take no for an answer, you know? And I think a lot of people don't see that, and a lot of people don't have that in them. You know, a lot of people just want it. They don't know how to reach it. They don't know how. They don't have the drive to get to that point. You know, he said to you, "Do you want to be a top producer? Or do you want to be a happy producer?" And I think that you could be both, but you also have to be smart about it, right? You have to surround yourself by the team that's going to help you get to that point, right? Because you could be a top producer and be able to be happy and have family time as long as you're surrounding yourself with the people that are going to support you and allow you to be able to get to that point. You know, the world is your oyster, right? The sky is the limit, and even past that, you can still continue to grow. It's going to be, how far do you want to go?
Yeah,
You
Winston Churchill, and there's a quote. He said, "My life, I plan for my life to be amazing because I'm going to be the author."
There you go.
You know, and you get to dictate your future. And that's why, bro, I love this industry because you have the capability of choosing what your path is
Yeah.
going to be.
Yep.
But now, you know, you get to a certain point right now where, again, you get to a certain level of growth, right? And you want to continue to grow, but you're figuring out how to grow. That's why in this point in phase in my career, like you said, now you're looking to connect even more with the owners of the company. What do I do to
Yes.
scale? Or you want to connect more with people in our industry because you guys have given me everything, you know. Now it's just more so molding. Now I know how to scale, I know how to grow, but now it's just molding everything to be more efficient, work
Yes.
smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
But you've taken the tools
Right.
and you've done something with it. I think a lot of times when you're young, because you're not that old, when you're young, you started when you were what, 22, 21?
It was 19.
It was
bro.
19. Yeah.
Yeah,
19.
baby.
So I started when I was
18.
19.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, when you're young, if you don't stay focused, it's easy to get caught up because you're making this money, you're blowing it out in the streets, you know, you're at the bars, you're at the clubs, you know, you're taking vacations left and right, and it's really easy to lose yourself and go left instead of staying focused and, you know, keep on creating that business and keep on, you know, making those referral partners and, you know, and working and, you know, and throwing yourself out there and working all the hours, because this is not a 9 to 5 type of job. I wish it was. I wish I can say that when I get home, I can turn off my phone and not worry about it until the next day. And on a Saturday and Sunday, nobody needs me and I can turn off my phone. I mean, Saturday I was talking to the title company, Miguel at the title company, because he was asking me questions in regards to a closing. So there's always someone who needs something, who has questions, who you might have to take out your laptop and, you know, do a pre-approval for, or, you know, help someone that's having an issue. So it's those type of things that it's not a 9 to 5, but you have to be willing to put in that work and stay focused, especially when you're younger, because everything looks easy. It's really easy to look at you and be like, oh my God, you know, I want to be just like him, and get into the business and think that it's fed to you. It's
All
not
I have to do
fed
is make a
you.
couple of videos. All I have to do is make, you know, do a
Yeah,
couple
this is not
networking
fed.
events, and it's just
Nobody
going to come
fed
to
you
me.
anything.
But you know what the common denominator around everybody here is everyone put the time in the industry, right?
Right,
Like you're 19,
absolutely.
however you're
Yeah.
18. I don't know. You've been in this industry for, I don't even want to tell how many years you've been in the industry. But everyone's put the time and the dedication into
Right.
the industry. And I think that's what's one of the most important parts. And, you know, he speaks a lot to me about time. He's always said that to me since the beginning of the industry. In the beginning of it, I was like, man, we're fine, dude. I mean, this job is like, it is what it is.
Because it's easy to lose yourself in it.
Well, in this job, when you're first starting out, when you're scaling, you don't realize, like, when you're scaling a business, you don't realize the value of time, because we kind of create our own schedule until the point, and I'll never forget, Reno always told me this: book your personal life first before you book your business, because then you're going to get to a point where you're too busy, and then your business is going to take over your personal life. And so when he told me that, though, I was like, nah, I'll be fine. Like, you know, I mean, bro, if anyone tell me, oh, you want to meet this day? Oh, yeah, come on, let's go. Oh, yeah, hey, you want to come over? Yeah, let's go. But then you get to a certain point where you do get busy. Yeah. And then you start telling everybody yes. You're like, oh, fuck. I was supposed to go here. I was supposed to do this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then you're like, oh, shit. Now, fast forward to where I'm at right now. You know, I have Leilani. Like, and that shifted that was probably the biggest blessing I could ever ask for in my life, because it gives me perspective, right? Like, obviously I was grateful. I've always been grateful for the business. The business has always been something that, like, it drives me, gets me happy, gives me, like, the success and all that stuff is happy in this. But when you look at it from that perspective, the family aspect, now it almost seems like you have to fit everything in your day because now if you don't work as hard as you possibly can from at least 9 to 5, then it almost feels as if you're doing your family a disservice. Right. Because now you're getting to a certain point where you're like, fuck, I have to ask today, and now I might have to go home and work a little bit because these people, and now I'm not giving the family the respect and time that they should have, right? So now having that family aspect really helps me kind of develop that mindset where it's like, all right, during the day, I got to lock in, I got to focus, I got to figure out the things that we got to do. And I attribute a lot to it to you because
it's a balance. I think we did it this weekend, right? I'm going to have a busy week. So we went out on one of our colleagues at work. He had a little something going on Sunday, and he said from 12 to whatever. I'm like, okay, no problem. You know, I felt bad because we weren't going to be able to go to one of an event he had, whatever. And I went, and he didn't show up there till like 1:30. Oh. And I was there for an hour and a half by myself. I'm like, okay, not a big deal. I can be with myself. That doesn't bother me. But
hey, we told him that we're gonna be there at 1. Just
yeah. It wasn't his event, so I didn't really care what time he showed up or if he didn't matter. But the guy that's doing the event got there at 1:20, and that's his event. And he told me to be there at 12. And yeah, but I had already slotted my time with my family. Like, hey, I'm gonna be gone for a couple hours. I'll be back by 2:30. Blah blah blah. Well, I already knew that. Could I have stayed there longer? Yeah. Right? What's another hour? It's not a big deal. But is there respect for time? Right, exactly. For my family. I already knew I was going to have a long week. And next week, I'll be gone pretty much all day on Sunday. So I took that into consideration. Like, you know, I have a family, and they deserve the same priority that my clients and my loan officers and my team does. You shouldn't put them second. So I left, you know. And I guess what he'll learn, and he's learning as he's growing up, is he needs to kind of manage his time. And you'll realize I told you that you're not going to be able to go to every closing, and that's already happening, right? You just have to manage it, you know, because at the end of the day, the time that you don't spend with your family is time that you lost. You can't get it back. Right. But you can get another deal. So I'm at a point in my career where somebody tells me to do this, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with not doing it because I don't want to give up my time. Because that time will never, I can get potentially another. I'm blessed. I don't need to make, I don't need to eat filet mignon every day. It's good, but I don't need to eat it every day. It's okay to eat bologna sandwiches once in a while. Notice where I came from, Spam. That was freaking one of the, delicacies in my family growing up. And now, of course, my kids don't even know what the hell Spam is.
Agreed. Yeah.
I need to kind of turn it back, and I realize that, you gave your kids everything that you didn't have as a kid because you don't want them to go through what you went through. But I don't think they appreciate it as much as, not having that. And you need to give them that, listen, you're blessed because I've been blessed. But the one thing that you can give them back is the time. And that's why I tell you, time is the one thing that you should cherish more than anything else. Because once you lose it, you can't get it back, bro. And once you don't see your first daughter's steps because you're out on a Sunday night taking an application. Yeah. And if that's important to you, that's okay. I've heard people that they talk about 24/7 working. And if that's what you love, that's okay. Mm-hmm. You prefer that than seeing your family and all that. I don't prefer that. We just, the basketball thing, I got my son to start playing another sport. And I have to coach. Now I have to figure out my timing. I ponzi you into helping me, whatever. Long story short, but I look at it as a double meaning. If I can, my wife tells me, why did you get Justin to help you? He has enough thing. I'm like, I need to teach him how to manage his time.
Yeah.
And once he understands, like, okay, I know he's not going to want to let me down, but I won't let him just consume his time. I just want him to learn how to manage it. And if he has responsibilities that have nothing to do with work, then he can understand how important it is to watch his cousin, him being there. Because, my son respects him, like, they look up to him.
Of course.
So for him to be there and see how much impact he's made, same now, the roles are reversed. He talks about me, how much impact I've made on him. Now he's going to experience what involvement to someone else is going to impact on him. And that satisfaction, and he praises me a lot, and I do appreciate it, but it does make you feel good. It's just something money can't buy, bro. When you give that kind of attention and time to someone that is looking up to you, and you're going to feel the same way I feel, is going to be the catalyst of you to be able to continue to do the things that you do and manage your time. Now you're going to learn it this way, but now you're going to apply it to your daughter and your kids and your family and your significant other, because that is the most important thing. I guarantee you talk to your lady and your daughter in 5 years and they tell you, I want you to be home more or drive a nicer car. What do you think they're going to say?
Yeah.
They're going to want you to spend more time, because that's the one thing that I could tell you. My wife, she would love to spend more time, but you got to balance it, because if it was up to her, I'll be home right now.
Yeah, and I think that there is a lot of truth with surrounding yourself by good people, not only people that are gonna help you grow in your business, also people that respect your time and your family time. I try to be very respectful to Dwight's time with his family. I think is very important.
Yep.
So every time he tells me something, I tell him like, no, you need to do this with the kids, and you need, and what about Claudia? And when he's out and he's doing something, I try to let everyone know in the office, like, hey, don't bother him. He's busy with his family. Because I think that it's important that when they're at a doctor's visit, that his phone is not ringing off the hook and he's answering the phone while the doctor's trying to talk to him and his wife is looking at him like, really?
It's so funny about that shit.
So it's
so
things
funny.
like that I think is
yeah.
very important. So I make sure that I, take him out of the equation for those 2 hours. No one is going to die for those 2 hours. Plus, he surrounds himself by good quality people. I believe that there is nothing that me and Espy and the other people in the office cannot handle. The company has amazing people. We have amazing staff. We have amazing resources. There is nothing, I truly believe, nothing that we cannot figure out. I mean, Dwight always said this, and, in the beginning when he would say it, I would always laugh. But it is so true. You don't always have to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to know who is. And as soon as you find who is the smartest people in the room, that's all you need to know. So yeah.
But building the trust too is important.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you might think people trust you, and when there's a test to really find out if they trust you or not, you realize they don't really trust you.
I was gonna say, but trust is important. I think that
Yeah.
I would never say that I am the smartest person in the room. I would never say that. But I know who to go to. But the one thing that I know I do have is I know my people trust me. They can come to talk to me about anything, personal, work,
100%.
anything.
But I think too, accountability is part of that, right? Because Dwight has no problem. I think Dwight has trust in us. I think we've proven ourselves enough that, he knows that if he asks us to do something, it's going to be taken care of. But if we don't do it how he requested it be done, or it wasn't done in the right order, or it wasn't done right away, he has no problem holding us accountable. Like, he has no problem putting us aside and being like,
No,
hey,
he
listen, like, we
doesn't.
asked you to do that. And I think that's something super important, Justin, because you're such a sweet guy that it's probably one of the toughest things you're probably going to have to do is hold your team accountable, because you're the first one to be like, you are so great, you're doing such a great job, everything's great. But the moment that they mess up, I think that's where you're going to kind of stumble, is pointing out to them where their failures are. And I think that that's something that you need to learn how to do, because that's the only way you're going to be able to help them grow.
Yeah.
People need to know that they're amazing, right? That they're doing a great job, but they also need to know where they're lacking, where they're failing, so they can focus and work on on that area so they can continue to grow. If you're only telling people how great they are and everything's wonderful, and they suck at everything else, those people are never going to go anywhere.
Right.
They're
That was my
never gonna go
hardest.
anywhere.
That was
Yeah.
my
You still
hardest.
can't.
I mean,
say,
I think
You
I,
have a very, very hard time. Like I could tell you, he got pissed at you one time. I don't think you've ever told you. Did I ever tell you that?
He probably
got,
never did. That's what
No.
I'm saying.
he got. I don't know what was the situation. He got pissed, and he told me something that resonated. He's like, you know what? Espy's the manager. If I have to tell her how to do it, then why is she the manager? She has to figure it out. You got a problem? If I tell you what the problem is,
You're working out at Wilmette too.
he was salty, and he's like, you know, if I tell you there's a
Oh,
problem,
we got into it
if
about
I tell you,
Stephanie.
if I tell you it's a problem, you're the man. You fix it. If I tell her it's a problem, she's asking me what to do. I'm not in her shoes. I'm not her.
Because
I was
it's
like,
not
damn.
it wasn't my it
No,
wasn't
so it
my
was-
team to manage.
Right, but in
Sales
the background,
was not my
but
team
the background
to
of
manage.
everything for everybody to know what happened was I had
Well,
a
we're going at it now.
We had an
Y'all ready?
influx.
I
We had
bet
an
I bet.
influx of deals come in, and that's when again, bro, like anything else, it's growing pains, right? You're managing a couple like 8 to 10 contracts coming in. You're like, what the fuck? What do I do? You know, like we gotta figure it
hard.
out. And during that time, you're probably stressed too because you got other LOs that drive you crazy. So you know, we butt heads because obviously we're like, all right, how do we handle it? And you're like, well, if you had the documents up front, we would be da da da. And I'm like, well, I don't have them right now, so we got to figure it the fuck out. Now let's figure it out. Like now we're in a position where we don't have a choice. We can't pick them up now. So that was the backstory on that. But I do agree, accountability. People pay thousands of dollars to be held accountable.
Yeah.
And I never realized that until I got into sales, where you start seeing these coaching things where people pay money to be held accountable, and it's really
Absolutely.
important. And that's whether it be family, whether that be within your business, whether that be within your team. I agree. I think that's the biggest thing that I gotta be, a lot more, assertive in certain things, because there's two different types of leaders. You're gonna be the friendly leader, and then there's gonna be someone that's assertive. And
which
I
I
think
struggle with.
you have to find
Yeah.
the middle,
It's-
right?
it-
But
it's a
look
struggle.
at your growth.
Yes.
That was a year ago, right? Maybe when that was time, and you were like 8 to 10. Like, oh my God, you had 14 loans in your pipeline, and you're dying. You have like 25 loans in your pipeline right now, and almost doubled your business. And I haven't heard. Maybe you're a good perpetrator. I haven't heard you stress like that in a while.
Yeah.
So look how much growth within you that you've done, and some of the strategies and things that you've implemented in your team that's made everyone step up.
Right.
Outside of whatever Espy has obviously suggested. So kudos to you, because you saw, growing pains. You saw problems, you saw it, and you figured out how to make your team better. And that's what it takes
Because
sometimes.
you can either go up, down, or right through the fucking
Yes.
wall.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
like that's
My position is difficult because the team that I manage has no representation, right? They're the ones that are responsible for everything, right? Everything is dumped on them. They are the ones that have to talk to the sellers, the buyers, the agents, the attorneys, the underwriter, the closer. You know what I mean? They talk to everybody, and they get dumped on by everybody. And yeah, it's easy for me to tell my processor, hey, do you mind doing this, this, and this, even though it's not your responsibility, but do you mind doing it because so-and-so is busy, and right now we're not in a position to hire. Okay, but what about her personal time? What about her life? What about the other loan officers and the other volume that she has to handle? Because you're only considering one piece, right? You're only considering how it's affecting you. I have to take into consideration how not only is it going to affect you, how is it going to affect the rest of her LOs? How is it going to affect her personally? How is it going to, you know what I mean? So it wasn't hard for me to tell you no, because I had to think of all of those pieces, right? And not only that, but the problem that you were having at that moment wasn't a processing issue. It was a growth issue. It was a sales issue that should have been handled by whoever manages that aspect of it. So you and I went to
You put it back
toe-to-toe.
on me, is what you're saying.
You and I went toe to toe because what you were asking me for at that moment, I couldn't deliver. It was very unfair for me to ask someone who's already working overtime, right? Who's already staying late, even though she's not claiming it, even though you guys don't see it. These girls are working, 12, 14-hour days. They just don't claim it because it is what it is, passion, right? You give your
dedication.
all, you work hard, exactly, work ethic. So I see it, and I know the capacity of my team. And at that moment, I was unable to give you what you wanted. Could we have handled it differently? Yeah, but you and I agreed to disagree and walk our separate ways, and
And
then
this
you
is
vented to
why-
him, and I
But
was
I think
okay
this is why
with
we
that.
have a great team,
Right.
though.
And
Like
this
we
is why
put the pieces
sometimes-
together,
And this is why sometimes it's hard to have tough conversation with people,
Yes.
because you see the whole picture, and you see people that work really hard. And does things fall through the cracks? Of course they do. But they work hard. It's not because they're sitting around and not putting in the work. It's just because, things, in this industry, it's hard to cover every little detail of every little thing. It's just sometimes, it can be impossible sometimes.
But that's why
There's
our
so many
team, but our
moving
team,
factors,
and that's the reason why our team is one of the best.
Right.
overall,
Exactly. We've done a
because
great
I don't
job
think
of
that- I don't
surrounding
think-
ourselves with
I don't
great
think people outside of what we have or what we've done, and kudos to you and you, because you guys have. Deliela is like the mama bear,
Oh, yeah.
There's no birthday that doesn't go uncelebrated. There's, she tells me all the time, like, you got to be a little more like, but Espy, I can honestly say, I talk to people outside the industry, and their assistants are the ones that get all the conditions and all that. I'm like, and our whole philosophy is my assistants to help me grow, not to. If I have to pay someone to get conditions, then that money should come out of processing, not out of sales. So Espy has done a great job, and every single processor, at least in our company, at least in our region,
Yeah.
they take literally the file from A to Z
Yeah.
and everything in between.
Which is one of the reasons why sometimes it's hard.
It's hard to say no.
Yeah, it's
you
hard
have
to say no. And it's sometimes hard to, to find that line. Where do you stop and say, okay, this is not my responsibility? Because you never, I was always taught through everything, through all the years of my being in this industry, through all my bosses, the worst thing you can say is that's not my responsibility. That's not my job.
That's not
That's
what I
not my
get paid for.
responsibility. That's
Oh my
not my
God.
job.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, it was so frowned upon to ever say to someone. But where do you draw the line?
Yes.
Where do you draw the line?
And that's the thing about our
Because
team is that nobody in our team is ever going to
No.
tell you no. Right?
Listen, at the
If you
I've
called your
been
processor, she wouldn't be like, "No, Justin, I can't do that right." She'd be like, "Okay, I'll take
But
care
you guys,
of it."
you guys do a great job of setting the boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, I already know. 8:59. If I don't make that call with her, it's done. I have to figure something else out.
But it's called personal time, right?
Right.
Finding that balance.
Setting the boundaries.
Yes,
Like, again, it's
absolutely.
not like it's the end of the world. Like, there's no one here is gonna die. It's not brain surgery. Do you want to please everybody? Absolutely. But I already know. For her beauty sleep is important, but she gets up at 4:00 in the morning. So I don't blame her going to sleep at 9, right? I already know if I don't get what I need by that time, I gotta find an alternate resource to do it. But it's okay. There's nothing. That's a perfect example of how you have to draw the line on what people should expect from you. Because if you don't draw that line, man, I would be calling her at 9:59. It doesn't matter.
It took a long time
but
for me to understand.
but it's
that
hard
No
in
one,
this
no one's
industry,
gonna
like,
die. Like this is not an
In your
emergency.
position, it is very hard to say no because you know what? They're going to go from you to somebody
Right.
else, and somebody eventually is going to say yes. And then that next deal might not come to you. I get it. I
And
totally
the one
understand.
thing I will say, I will. It's funny you said that about the hospital and the doctor's office, because I never, like, when I go to my day to day, I almost feel as if it's like natural for me to just phone call, pick up, boom, next, next phone call, next phone call, next one. That's just like my day to day. So 9 to 5, whenever it's 9 to 5 during the week, I don't see anything different. That's just like another day, same shit, different day, right?
It's just what you
But
think.
when I'm going to doctor's appointments, right? It's exact funny you brought that up. I'm driving to doctor's appointments, and again, talk about accountability, all this stuff with your partner. I'm driving, and dude, for the first, like, it could be take 45 minutes drive to Oak Brook, wherever the doctor's appointment is. I'll be on the phone the entire time, but I don't think anything of it. Like, I'm just like, oh, whatever.
but I'm
I don't
sure
think,
your wife-
I'm just, oh, bro, she
She hasn't said 2 words to you because you've been on the phone.
until she brought it up. She was like, well, like, when can we have a car drive where I can actually have a conversation with you? Like, then I start thinking about it. I'm like, bro, every fucking time I'm in a car, I'm picking up the phone because I don't think anything of it. It's just people call me, I pick up the phone. I don't think anything, especially on a doctor's appointment, and, you start looking back and you start thinking, like, okay, accountability, right? You're right. If 45 minutes to an hour, whatever, the doctor's appointment is 2 hours, it's not going to be the end of your business if you don't pick up the phone during that 2 hour window,
And
right?
if you have the right people in your
team.
to cover in your team, you shouldn't have a problem because you should be able to say, hey, reach out, or send a quick message, reach out to this person, or or that person, whoever covers you, you know, hey, Justin is going to be out, you know, call. Forward your phone calls. You figured out how to forward phone calls.
Well, you flip
now.
it, right? You flip it as originator, right? When you're doing that, though, again, it's growing pains. You don't understand anything other than that
Other
because
than-
you don't
yeah.
want to lose your business.
Of course.
That's your baby. The minute that you're getting into this, you're like, all right, I got to pick up every phone call because if I don't, someone else is going to pick it up. So that's the main thing for me is like, I'm thinking on a daily basis that like this is sink or swim. I have to pick up the phone or else someone else is not going to get it. Again, but it's really important to have that accountability. Have the right people around you where it's no malintentions. They're just letting you know to open your eyes to see a different perspective.
Absolutely.
So that way you're able to grow because your household is the most important part about your business.
Absolutely.
Because if your household isn't there, he always told me that in the beginning, if your household, your foundation isn't set, your business is going to sink just
Something
because
is
your
gonna fall through the
foundation is going to
cracks.
crack.
Yeah.
And the house falls as soon as your foundation cracks.
Yeah.
So if
You know,
can
when
figure it out at home.
When I started originating, and I became a loan officer in 1999. Long time ago. Were you born yet? Probably not.
Did they take
When I
the?
was
Did you
born.
take the test with the freaking? Hey.
And in 2002, I had my son. I took a week off after a C-section, and I was back to work after a week with my son. Yes.
That's
and I
crazy.
remember nursing, taking a loan application on the phone,
That's
right?
absolutely insane.
I would take my son with me to work every single day. Every single day. I had an appointment, my son would come with me. Why? Because my husband was working. I didn't want to leave my kid in daycare. My mom lived in Bolingbrook. I didn't want to put her out either. You know what I mean? So you do what you have to do. And for me, it came to a point where I was like, is this really even fair? Not only to my son, but is this fair to me? Is it fair to my, to my husband? Like, this is a horrible way to live, Then, the market crashed. I already had my daughter. My daughter, same situation. Week later, I was a hard worker, came to work with me every single day. But it was a sacrifice I was willing to take at the time because we needed the money, right? I was making more than my husband at the time. I was driven, passion, right? It's all about passion. I loved what I was doing. I was hungry for it. I saw the results. I saw how much money I was making for it. But like he said, do you want to be a happy loan officer or do you want to be a top producer? And sales really wasn't for me. And I didn't want to have to take my kids with me everywhere. And I didn't want to have to take an application with my boob hanging out while I'm nursing because, you have to do what you have to do. So I made that decision of going back to processing. I gave it up and I was like, this is not for me. And I've loved what I've done. And I still continue to love what I do. But what it has taught my kids is work ethic. They know mom works hard. They know that you have to have pride in your work. They know that you have to, work hard for what you want, right? Because nothing has been given to my kids. My kids know that, listen, mommy and daddy have money. You have no money, okay? Like, we got money, you broke. Like,
Right.
you have to figure it out. Because I learned through struggle. They need to learn through struggle. If things are just handed to them, there's never going to be any enjoyment. There's never going to be that drive. There's never going to be that want to be better, right? Because everything's given to me. Why do I have to work hard for it?
Anything, if they don't know what it is to not have something.
Yes.
If your family or your parents are always giving you everything and you come from a very privileged family who you never had to struggle, then you don't know what that struggle is, right?
Yes.
Which is him.
You don't know what that
But
struggle
I'll
is.
give you credit. I just found out her daughter had a party at her house. They made her pay every single time.
She paid back $600 in damage she made to my house. $600. And my daughter paid back every penny. And let
You
me
have
tell
to
you that ever
teach
since then,
them.
she doesn't allow
Yeah.
nobody in our house because she's like, you people don't know how to. Because it amazes me. You raise your kids to be good people, right? Responsible, respectful. And it amazes me how many people don't do that.
Right.
Like, you have these kids that walk into your house and have absolutely no respect for other people's property. None.
Well, that goes with everything. I mean, we just hosted an event on Friday, and I'm not a person that can just sit around.
Yeah.
So halfway through the event, I got anxiety because there was just crap everywhere. People ate, they left their plate. People had a drink, they left their cup. People had water bottles, they left their empty
Were you
water
walking around with a
bottles.
garbage bag?
Yes, I was.
Deliela.
Yes, I was. Because it's just amazing how people don't.
Nobody cares, yeah.
Nobody cares.
It's
They
not
don't
my
pick
place.
Up, yeah, they don't pick up after themselves. It's not their place. They don't care about the mess and stuff. So you have to teach
Yeah.
them.
Right.
You have
You
to
got to
teach
teach your
them.
kids respect. You got
Yeah.
to teach your kids work ethic. You got to teach your kids that things don't just happen. Things don't just
I
drop
wish it
into your
did.
lap. People are not just going to give you everything you want. You got it. You want it. You got to work hard for it. You
It
know.
stems from your upbringing and who you come from. His
Absolutely.
point, like I actually got everything handed to me. My parents did everything for me, and I really start to dig deep on like why I am and why am I wired the way that I am. But first off, like what you say about Ruby is funny because Shaquille O'Neal, he got one of the largest contracts that he ever signed, right? And he told his son went to the car dealership to go Tesla. It's like, oh, I want the Model X, whatever. It's like $150,000 car. I want the Plaid, whatever. And he told his son, he brought him to test drive it, drove the car, one of the fastest cars in the world. Boo, goes up, and then he's like, okay, Dad, I want it. He's like, I wanted you to taste it so you could see what it is, but I got money, you don't. You're getting a Toyota Camry. So it gives you the life principle of like you
Yeah.
got to work for it. Now, for me, right, like my parents gave me everything, right? Like I would be lying to you if I had like some sort of like
But you
religious
saw
struggle.
them work hard.
No, you know what I think in his life, and I hope you know how to answer this. What experience in your life made you really appreciate what you have? Think about everything you've done. Think about the experiences that you had. The one experience that I could tell, even though you can't, that you've experienced that made you realize, like, I'm really blessed. What experience did you have?
There's a couple.
No, one that's probably the most impactful one.
mean,
That you,
number
the
one-
one that you don't, maybe you don't realize it, but I hope you do. Which one?
There's two of them. Like number one is my sister. My sister's experience living in the hospital, like day to day, I never understood how much that really impacted me. For those who don't know, my sister had leukemia, and we were living day to day in the hospital. That was one thing that strongly impacted me because her life was never guaranteed in the beginning stage of life, right?
For
Like,
sure.
and I never really understood it because I would live day to day in the hospital and I would hang out with other kids who had brain cancer.
Yeah.
And to this day they send us thank you cards or Christmas cards. Because this kid he had a brain tumor and he was actually gonna pass away. Legit, they gave him a couple months to live. I would play PlayStation with him every single day I got there. I didn't know. I had no idea that the kid had brain cancer. So they sent over a thank you card every single year because he's in remission. He completely passed and went through cancer. And that was one portion of my life, right? Like I look at it.
But you were really young at that time.
No, but that's what I'm saying. There's chapters to it. So now you fast forward. Now we come to a different part of my life. Number one, Haiti.
That's exactly the one.
So it's like I think I went through
Did you
phases.
go to ministry
I went
in
on
Haiti?
I went on a missions trip, and during this was time, it was during Christmas, so we go for like 2 weeks to Haiti. I'm sleeping on a concrete floor,
Yeah.
with a blanket on top of me, and my hand is my pillow, my arm is my pillow, and there's no AC, no nothing. You're in a concrete hut, and you're just sitting there, and you get to experience life from their lens.
Yes.
You wake up in the morning, 6 a.m, and the first thing that was the most exciting part of their day was us bringing out a soccer ball.
Yes.
And we experienced that. We experienced little toys that they had. They just loved every second of it. And one part that was really fulfilling was we went to one of their schools. I'm playing soccer with them, and I remember we had the whole day. We ate lunch with them. We were reading them books. We're doing everything. And then I remember leaving. Never forget this. We're in the back of a truck. Right? We were sitting in the back of a pickup truck. No seatbelt, no nothing. We're sitting in the back of a pickup truck. We're driving off, and all you see is hundreds of little kids just chasing the truck as we're leaving. Like they're running after us. Like, oh, don't leave us. And they're chasing. The experience was amazing, and the fact that just the food, we would buy food for them, but they would cook like amazing meals every single day, and they were just grateful that we bought the food for them. We built a house for them. Like all that experience really like changed my whole mindset, and that's another thing that changed my mindset. But one other thing that like I give my parents so much credit is they developed my mindset very young. It was never a moment in my time where I had time to do anything other than just work hard in anything. It was 9 to 5 or 8, whatever the school schedule, 8 to 2:30 was school. Then I had basketball. Then I had piano. I didn't like piano. Guitar. Then I had baseball. My mom had me like every hour of my day. I had a schedule, and I would have 6:30 in the morning practice. I didn't want to wake up at 6:30 on a Saturday, but they would take me to practice at 6:30, and I would just do it because I didn't know anything other than what my parents were teaching me at that time. And I look back at it, I've kind of formulated this idea that there's nothing other than just to work, right? Like to work genuinely hard in anything. You know, it was baseball, and it was a little bit of appreciating everything. Like, you know, I grew up in Bolingbrook. My house is in Bolingbrook, but I went to school in the city. So I experienced that part of life, right? I experienced, you know, where parents were divorced. And my parents were always together. They were the family that brought everybody together in the house. And I think that's why my house, to me, I could cry talking about the house I bought, because now I could bring everybody together. I could bring my family, friends, everybody together. I love being able to have that because my parents brought that experience to me.
Right.
I see my family friends who maybe they only had their mom. They didn't really have their dad and present in their life, or vice versa. They only had their dad and they didn't have their mom, right? Or they didn't have any parents. They were gangbanging, you know, and I was the kid that I would hang out with the gangbangers, but they would tell me, "Hey, look, don't bring the weed around him. Like, he's a good kid. Like, he's gonna be the one that's you know that's gonna be good." They always sheltered me, and I always had that you know camaraderie with all the people around me. It didn't even matter who it really was. So when I look at life in different phases, you know, look at my sister, you look at Haiti, you look at my upbringing in elementary school and even high school, the people that I surrounded myself with, I always had two different perspectives. I never wanted to tell people that I got the new PS5. Like, when I was in school, I was never like, oh, I got the brand new PS5 that no one was able to get it. I never want to tell people. And if they asked me if I got it, I would tell my mom I got a sale. Like, oh, yeah, we got a good deal. We didn't really get, because I never really wanted to, like, bring forth and show them that that's the stuff that we actually had. So I attribute all of my success to my parents, to the people around me, because I took every life experience and I kind of bottled it up. And we always talk about how COVID genuinely changed my life. Like, COVID was such a weird time that, like, brought our family so close together, brought his family and our family. I didn't know my uncle before. The only memory I had of my uncle prior to COVID was him taking me to Margie's at 10 o'clock at night when he lived in his Hamlet house. And another time when his muffler fell off his car going to the Bears. Those are the only two memories I had prior to that. And COVID really did change our life, because
COVID was
brought
everybody
together.
It was a hard time, but it was also a good time, because that was the time that you got to focus on your family, right? Because everything was kind of
I
shut
didn't think it was
down.
hard at all.
No, I can tell you that COVID, for at least in our industry, was the best thing that ever happened.
It didn't affect us
industry,
in any
but
way.
I think as personal life, I think a lot of people struggled. There was a lot going on. You know, I would have to say that, going back to what you said, you know, you get older and you look back and you're able to see a lot, and you're able to be grateful for so many things. You know, a lot of things that's changed me that I can look back and say, okay, this was Deliela at her 30s, and this was Deliela at her 20s, and this is Deliela in her 40s. But my sister also had leukemia, and she had it in COVID. And it is a very rough time when you are the fixer in your family. You're the one that fixes everything. You're the one that does everything. You're the one that holds all the parties. You create everything. I've always been that person in my family. So when my sister got leukemia and I couldn't fix it, it was a really hard time. So what do? You have to sit there and you got to figure things out, right? You know, I also went, it's so funny that you say that, because I went on a cruise a few years back, and we went to Honduras. And we were going through this road, and for some of, there was an ocean next to the road, so the bus stopped there so people can get out and view the ocean. And I thought that it was just an abandoned place, because all the houses, they look like little shacks with no windows, no doors. They just look like cement little blocks, kind of. And I thought that they were all empty because I was naive. And when I seen families walking out of those houses and begging for food and begging for whatever you can give them, and bringing us water with lemon and stuff like that, it humbles you to a place. I think I had like $200 in my pocket, and I gave everything away. And then anyone that knows me know I have a really soft spot for helping people and trying to go above and beyond for people. It's just what I enjoy to do. So that was, I mean, if I could have carried all those little kids in the bus back with me, I probably would have. But it also makes you appreciate everything that you got. You know, that you worked hard for. The little things that you don't need all the extras. You really don't. Is it beautiful to have a big house? Yes, but do you need it? No.
I
Who
think
needs
it's
a house
important.
with 10 rooms
Not a lot of
when
people.
you have 2 kids?
But I think not a lot of people, like, don't do that exercise.
No,
Like
and
a
they
lot of people
should.
should reflect on
One
from
of the
what
biggest-
stems, what
yes.
stems you from being great, what
Yeah.
motivates you, what drives you, what life
Yes.
experiences kind of get you to where you're at today. Because the more you reflect on that, the more you're like, oh shit, like that.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I'm the man I,
I
am
think
today.
everybody should go, and not because I'm a Christian, but I think everybody should go to do a ministry. That's my next thing. I want to do a ministry with my church.
And it doesn't
Because
necessarily have to be a ministry. I mean, you know,
Could
my
be
husband,
anything.
As long as you do it on
Jim's
your
a huge
vacation time.
traveler,
Yeah.
and I know you always give me you always bring up Cuba. Oh,
'Cause
she
you're
went to
always
Cuba. She goes
there,
to Cuba
like-
every year. But one thing that we have always done with our kids is Max, my son is 22, from the age of 6 months old, we always traveled with him. So he's gone to Ireland, he's gone to the Dominican Republic, he's gone to Haiti, he's gone to Cuba, because it teaches him, you know, not only, you know, the world is beautiful, right? The world is absolutely beautiful, but it also teaches him how to be humble. That people, you can make do with the littlest amount of things. Like, you don't need everything. There's a difference between a need and a want, right? My daughter, the same thing. She's traveled with us all over the world, and we are ecstatic that we've been able to offer that to our kids. But I think it's important for children to see, you know, how other people live, how other people struggle, how other people make do, you know. Little kids that are 4 or 5 years old on the street selling, like they're working and helping support their families. Like, look how lucky and how privileged you are that you don't need to do that, right?
I'm gonna go home and sell everything. You guys are making
But-
me depressed.
It
No,
also
but it
teaches
is-
kids to understand, you know,
Yeah.
that, listen, you want a good life, you got to work hard for it, right? You got to have pride. You got to have respect. You've got to have, you know, that drive. Otherwise, your kid's going to be sitting in her room on their iPad or their cell phone for the rest of their life, and they're going to
sometimes
be
you-
43 living in your basement.
And you need that. You also need that reality check. You need the reality check. It's not only for your kids, it's also for you, because you can get so involved in day-to-day things and what you see on, you know, on social media, and how everything looks so perfect and everybody has a great body, and this is how
Yes.
you're beautiful. You know, this is what beautiful is. If you're skinny and you have long hair, and if you're tall, and, you know, and not everybody fits in that category, you know. And but, you know, it social media has impacted so many people in so many different ways. I think that's why there's a lot of anxiety now amongst kids, and depression amongst kids, and shaming and bullying and everything else that you can possibly think of, because they see it on social media and they feel that that's what perfect is. That's how you have to be perfect.
But it's because you are what you consume.
Right,
So
exactly.
if you-
And-
There's a quote that I read, and I think I've shared this with you. A wealthy man wants a lot of things, and a sick man just wants one.
right.
It's so crazy. You think about that, you're like,
Yes.
it's so true.
What do
Absolutely.
you mean by that?
Well, think about it. A wealthy man wants a bunch of stuff. Bigger house, wants nicer cars. You know, you have the
Yes.
money, you have the means. You want everything. And if you're sick, you just want to be healthy.
Listen, my
Right?
sister right now,
That's-
my sister Erica right now, all she wants is 2 healthy lungs. All she wants to do is breathe. She wants to breathe without an oxygen tank.
It's crazy.
Everywhere she goes.
You make me depressed.
You know, do you think that?
But let me ask you something. Not that I don't want to get all emotional and shit, because I'm thinking about my life and shit. But let me ask you two girls this question. It relates to Justin. What do you think he should do? What's your honest opinion on the next level of what he should implement, knowing what you seen him, the young man, the anxiety, that over your desk, like you want to punch him in the face, like you would say, to where he's at now, and the growth that he has developed over the years that he's been with us. Obviously, he is at the next step of his growth, right?
Yes.
And I think we've done the right things with you, with implementing the right team members, adding the right team members slowly, not just throwing people at a problem, figuring out what the solution is, looking at the problem, letting you learn from that and appreciate what other people do. And I think that's why I think you're developing into a great leader. But more importantly is you guys can see the back door, the backside of things, right? What would you suggest that he should do to implement his next growth and his next part of his career? Whether he wants to, be $100 million producer, whatever that is, as you see him grow, as you see what he has done right and wrong, what suggestions you would give to Justin for the next leap of his career?
First thing I would say, Justin, is you've made a really good name for yourself, which is awesome. Not too many people can do that. And you've also, while making that name for yourself, you made a very good living for yourself. And I'm not saying that you don't, but giving back to the community, it's very important, I feel. I feel like if money is not going to take you, you can't take money when you die. Can't take none of that when you pass away. And what do you want to leave when your day is up? What do you want people to remember you by? Are they going to remember you by, oh, he was a great loan officer? Or are they going to remember you by, hey, this guy did so many things for these families and did this for the community and did this and that and blah, blah, blah. So I would just, I would say if I was in a position like you where you're a very big staple on social media, give, whatever you can to give back to the community, do things. I love the walk that you did. That's important. Don't ever make that an every year thing.
Yeah, you made me walk. I can't believe that shit. I was there.
On Thanksgiving, maybe doing, drives, giving out food or whatever it is, gift card, little things like that, you don't realize how many people out there that don't have. When you start going to the community and you really start working with the community, you start to really realize how many people don't really have nowhere near the amount of things that you have, that I have, the Espy. I mean, it's like, people are really living, struggling. So, I would say that. And I think it's going to be fulfilling for yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's very fulfilling for me when I do it. Dwight one time told me a few days ago, what did he tell me on the phone? And I stopped to think about it and I was like, you're right. I probably would. Dwight was like, Deliela, you'll never be a millionaire in life. You'll never be a millionaire. And I told him, why you say that? And he goes, because you'll give away all your money. And then I stopped for a second to battle him against that. And then I realized, no, he's right.
Well, if you're going to give away your millions, listen, mamita, I'm taking it.
I probably would want to feed the world. I would give money here. I'm a sucker for a sad story. You give me a sad story, and I'm a sucker.
Release
for
me
a
into
sad
story selling now.
But I would say that's important. I think it'll help you grow as well.
Yeah.
Put you in different places. Sooner or later, those people will buy houses. Or their
I'm glad
kids
we
would,
did the podcast for Rick, though.
Oh my God! I'm glad you brought him up because philanthropy is. I've been telling him before you made that suggestion. I don't know if you watched the previous podcast, but philanthropy is the one thing. Like if I can go out and buy an expensive bottle of tequila, if I go to, and you guys have seen me, if I go to a fundraiser, I would. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like if I can spend X amount of dollars on a freaking bottle of tequila, why not help the community?
Yeah,
so if
you're
I go to a
very generous.
fundraiser, I don't have. I donate $25,000, but I would donate what I can,
right?
Because it makes me feel good, right?
Right.
But a close friend of mine, my compadre, his whole life, he's funny because he just texted me the other day. His whole life has been about philanthropy. I mean, this guy's one of the most successful guys, University of Comedy. This guy's smart. He can run for mayor and he would win a landslide. Everyone loves him, respects him. He's never been about himself. He's always been about the community.
Right.
CEO of a big, social services company, Metropolitan Services. And the one thing that just this week, he texted me yesterday. He's like, hey, compa, he doesn't drive. He's always taking a bus. That's the kind of guy he is because he works downtown. He's like, he lives 2 blocks away from the trains. Like, he didn't need one.
Right.
And he says, hey, I'm looking at the EV Mustang. And I'm like, what? You're buying a car? I'm like, do it. But he's so like, what do you think about it? I'm like, but he's so concerned with his image. Like, is it going to make me, I'm like, dude, get it. That's a nice car. You deserve it.
Yeah.
But again, this is a guy that always thinks about, he do you remember that quote?
I forgot what I was thinking of
Come
exactly
on,
what he said,
Justin.
dude.
It was, I remember, I'm thinking about it and I remember it, but we did a podcast with him and he said this quote that it's just, to this day, I'm like, it's true. What he says and how he says it, he's been blessed because of how he lives his life. And his guy's been in, I don't know how many countries. I mean, you talk about the experience, like now as we leave this podcast, like the last podcast we did, we're going to implement that whole concierge, which is already on the works. This one, I'm going to take my son and daughter and send them. I know Gladia's gonna probably kill me, but I need my kids to experience. You know, my son complains that, Papi,
Your Wi-Fi ain't working.
why get the Wi-Fi? Like, why can't you just get T1 lines? I'm like,
What?
exactly what I said. I'm like, first of all, how do you know about T1 lines? Number one. Number two, do you really need that fast internet like that? Like, but it goes to show you how they don't even appreciate
Right.
what they have.
And this is why I say that I think that when you go visit something so great like that, you know, you appreciate so much, because when you're used to having everything, you don't know what it is. Dwight, you only know what it is, how to be so grateful, because you came from nothing. Your
Yeah.
parents were poor. We came from nothing. We lived in rough areas. You know, our parents couldn't afford to give us, I remember eating chicken every single day because that's all my parents could afford to,
Spam. That's why I don't eat
to
spam. My kids have
buy
never
at the
eaten
stores.
spam. Oh my goodness.
So when you come from something like that, you appreciate it and you work hard.
Yeah.
Because you work hard because you don't ever want to go back there, right?
But then you also make the mistake that you don't want your kids to ever
to
suffer
have
the way
that,
that we
yes.
suffered, right? And I think that that's why we're seeing this generation being so spoiled and ungrateful and disconnected from reality, because parents have done everything they can for their kids so that they don't have to suffer. And I think that, kids need to suffer. People
Yeah.
need to understand that life isn't,
No.
like you said, like social media puts it out there, everybody's happy, everybody's rich, everybody's got the best of the best, everybody looks the greatest of the great. That's not reality.
No, it's
That's not life.
And when and it also teaches you to work hard.
Yeah.
Like I worked really hard. I was 14, 15. I was working at the flea markets.
Yeah.
I was always like a little hustler. I was always working at the flea markets, and then, when a job came, anytime a job opportunity came, I jumped on it.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
That's
I
not
was-
true.
But you know what? It's
I offered you a job before and you didn't jump
I
on
had
it,
a job.
so,
It's not
yeah.
like I wasn't, it's
but
not
it's
like
also
I didn't
because
have a
it
job.
wasn't given to you, so you had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
I
You
was
had to
giving
become
it
a
to her.
hustler.
She just didn't want it. It's just, she was.
I had in my head, I had envisioned something in my head. I worked really hard to get to where I thought I was gonna get to with this company. I thought I had it, I had it. Of course, I was gonna get the position. I've been doing the position for the last 6-7 months. Of course, I'm gonna get it. And then when I didn't get the position for political reasons, I want to say, I was heartbroken because I worked so hard, and I was just like, how did I not get this position?
But I told you that was going to happen.
I know,
You didn't
I
listen
know.
to me. The
And-
same reason you didn't listen to me about the monkey. The same reason you listened to me about.
But you know what?
But you didn't. I want to hear
But
from
you
you
know what?
before
I
you get into it, because she answered with philanthropy, which is what I told him before.
Yes.
So it
But
makes me.
so this is why Deliela and I work really well together, right? Because I'm very focused on I'm more stern than she is, right? She's sweet, loving, philanthropy, help the people. I'm gonna be like, listen, Papi, you need someone strong on your team. You need to be able to delegate and walk away and focus only on your lead generation, because you're amazing at it. Your social media aspect, because you're amazing at it, and you're reaching so many people. I don't think you realize how many people watch your videos and are completely just in awe of what the things that you have to say, and how moving they are, right? And how touching they are, because you're reaching your generation, right? Your age group, and they're like, wow, this guy's a badass. Like, the shit you do, like, that's amazing, because it comes across as genuine to everyone, right? But in order for you to be able to focus on those things, the things that are are going to help you continue to grow, and that are going to allow you to be able to offer, right, to
The
others,
philanthropy?
you need to be able to have a strong team beneath you that's going to be able to allow you to walk away. Right now, it's not that you don't have a strong team, because you do, but you're still very much involved.
Right.
You're still very much involved, and you need that one person that you can just touch base with every day and be able to walk away and know that your stuff is being taken care of. And that person has to be the strong one, right? You need to have, that person needs to hold your team accountable. That person needs to drive them. That person needs to tell them when they're doing things wrong, because you can't. Because you got to be the face. You got to be the nice guy. You got to be able to keep, to balance that other person out. And I think that's, if you get that one person on your team that can do that for you,
Yeah.
So
there's
she's
no
saying the
stopping
balls in
you.
your court.
There's
Oh,
no
balls
stop.
in my court? No.
I think that's what
that develops.
balanced me
Yeah,
and Dwight out
absolutely.
a lot too.
Yeah.
Is because Dwight is a lot stronger than me.
Dwight has
And-
no problem saying no, and Delilah will be like, "It's okay.
Yeah.
He didn't mean to tell you no."
I mean, I remember one. We had an employee that I'm like, hey, put her in check. But the moment we moved over to you, she was gone within a week. You know, so it goes to show you how much stronger. We've told her she needs to butter her knife
I know.
because she's too. I mean, not to bring her son. We were going through some rough times, and her son worked for us for a while. And I did tell her like, hey, you know, we're slow. We're gonna have to, you know, let him go. You know, it was during I don't remember what, a couple of years ago. It was,
Yeah.
it was
During COVID,
and we
No, it
we
was after.
it was
after
over.
COVID,
Yeah, we were
when the market
overstaffed, and
dipped.
I it was hard to tell. This is Espy's son. Like, hey, we're gonna have to let him go. We'll give him 2 weeks. But man, I told her on a Thursday. I'm like, hey, she told him. She called him immediately. Drop off your computer. We don't need
I
your.
didn't do it like
Oh
that.
my God! I
I'm
felt so
getting
bad for the
excited
guy.
now.
I'm like, come on, give him 2 weeks. Like, give him a
Excited.
chance.
Listen,
It's like,
I am one that, and I think that that's what my team appreciates is that I don't beat around the bush, right? I'm very honest with them. I'm very straightforward with them. I let them know exactly what the expectation is. There is no guessing with me, right? I am very straightforward. You come to me and you ask me for my opinion, you're going to get exactly what you asked for. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's just, and that's the way that I am. That's the way that I've always been, and that's why I am successful because I don't pussyfoot. I don't bullshit. I don't give you what you want to hear. I just tell you exactly how it is. And I think that people need to be that way. In my position, I have to be that way, right? Because otherwise, my team's not going to trust me. You know, when we went through, unfortunately, we had to go through layoffs and furloughs. I gave my team a heads up way ahead of time because they have to prepare.
Right,
They
you
have
gotta
a
prepare their
family
kid,
that
they
they
got
have to take
family,
care of,
yeah.
right? They have responsibilities, and the last thing I would ever want is for someone to let me go with no notice, right? Because then what do? Now you're scrambling. I want to give you time to let you know, listen, eventually this is what's going to happen. So I need you to start preparing so that when it happens, you're ready, you know? And my team was very thankful for it. They were still hurt, right? Because we're a family. You know, we've worked very hard to create, you know, the group that we have. We're very close, right? We care about each other. And the last thing that I would want to do is bring somebody into my office that morning and be like, hey, sorry, gotta let you go. Right. That to me is very callous. And it's not something that I would ever want someone to do to me. So why would I do that to somebody else?
But you know what I've learned from, obviously, from my mentors. There's so much I've learned from Dwight, and there's so much I've learned from Espy and you know, other people that I've worked under. But one thing I will have to say is 4 years ago when we were going through this, I couldn't sleep at night. My anxiety was on a high. I would cry. I felt it was the worst feeling in the world. But we went through it. And the way that Espy did it with so much grace and so much respect. And that's now, I don't have a problem now with it. I think I could let people go and do it the same way because she showed me how to do it, you know. If you do it this way, Delilah, if this is how you do it and you show people respect and you pay attention and you give them warnings and you know, there's a way to do things. You don't have to feel bad about it. They understand. And every person that we had to let go understood the position that
but we did bring some people back.
Yeah, no,
so
absolutely.
like we did it the right
And, you know,
way.
yeah. And
But
they
even
understood.
recently, SP is like, hey, we're really, really busy. We had a couple weeks ago, rates came down and you blew up. Everyone's, even I started submitting loans, right? So all of a sudden you're like, shit, if I'm submitting loans, our pipeline was like, she's like, hey, are we okay? We need to hire somebody. I'm like, let's just wait and see.
Off, yeah.
And then it just
But
rates
we're
went
also
down and rates slowed down.
You know,
So
we're also very we think about things. We just don't go and hire 20, 30 people and then,
Well,
next
you guys are
month
good. That's overall what gives you guys to become great leaders. And I
Right.
think
Yeah.
right
We
when
think
you
about things,
when
we-
you take a step back, right?
Yeah.
You look at everything, and that's why every morning I self-reflect. Right? Like I try to like you said, become a better leader. Try to figure out what are good leaders doing, and I have great role models in you guys right now. the one thing that I say that I had growing up was a mom who taught me what, no matter what, all types of love,
I just wanna
unconditional
hug
love.
him.
She gave me unconditional love,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And then I have a different perspective with my uncle, right? Like my mom was, I could strike out at the game and she'd be like, Papa, you got it, it's okay. And then he'd be like, what the fuck, why you strike out? I didn't come to the game, watch you strike out. Like, come on. But
You need
it's
that.
important to have both
Both,
sides, right? And
absolutely.
it's learning how to become an assertive leader, but with that assertiveness is doing through compassion, right? Like
Right.
you're doing it out of love,
Exactly.
right?
Never
You're
lose
helping
your
people to just figure
compassion.
out
Yeah.
how to make someone better as a person overall. And the way that right now, again, it's growing pains, right? Like you're figuring out
Yes.
how can I hold people accountable without tearing them down. And I think that's why right
Exactly.
now for me, it's like my growth is trying to give people that enlightenment where I'm bringing forth positivity, because I always tell people I don't think I've done something where like nobody else can accomplish. I try to give people that some sort of positivity so that they feel as if they can grow themselves, because I know that people have it in them. It's just more so of unleashing what in your mind. You have these little voices in your head that you feel like you want to do something, but you don't take the jump because you feel like you're gonna fail. There's a possibility of you failing, and I think that's one of the most important parts is
Yes.
channeling that little voice in your head and figuring out how you can accomplish it, figuring out and falling in love with the journey, falling in love with the grind, because that's ultimately where it's going to lead you to the point that you want to be at, whether it be in a managerial position, whether it be a top producing loan officer, top producer car set, whatever it might be. It's channeling the inner goals that you have within yourself that's going to make you become the best version of yourself. And that's why I like doing this type of stuff, just kind of help
Yes.
other people to grow around them. But that's, in my eyes, super hard to learn the assertive part of everything,
Yeah.
because again, I grew up around love. I grew up around you guys. You show me love,
But
positivity.
like you said,
I-
Justin, you could be assertive and
Right.
not be an asshole.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly.
I'm an assertive person with my team, but I am never disrespectful to them, ever. I could have a stern conversation with them and never raise my voice, never put them down, never swear at them or call them names. I don't need to do that to get my point across,
But for
right?
a while, to me, that's a foreign language. I'm learning. Don't get me wrong. It's not like now I've learned to adapt and become a little bit better, because that's like the most important trait about becoming a
Yes.
leader. But to me, at some point, that was a foreign language to me. All I knew was to be like, okay, well,
To
you
be
know, I don't
sweet.
want to hurt them feelings. I
Yeah.
don't want to say something that's gonna. But
And you can get your point across without hurting their
Right. I
feelings.
remember
you know?
But now I know that, right? But
Yes.
at a certain point, I didn't really know how
Yeah.
to do that. You know,
Yeah.
that was an important part of growth. And again, surrounding yourself with the right people, surrounding
Yes.
yourself with the right leaders is going to ultimately bring
Yeah.
you back. That's why I tell people all the time: networking is probably the most important part to
Yes.
anybody's growth. If you don't have a strong network, if you don't have people that are better than you, you're not going to be able to grow.
what people tell you, because I will tell you, I don't know if this person, I don't know where this person is, but he was one of my second boss that spoke a lot to me, and his name is Rob Hardman, and he worked at a company named Primera Mortgage. And I remember that he one time told me, he goes, walk with a purpose. Whatever you do, walk with a purpose. Because when people see that you're slumped and you're not walking with a purpose, people feed off of that. So he was like, always walk with a purpose. And I don't know why that stuck to me, but it did. And then another thing he said, there is no reason to ever be mean or rude to anyone. You can get your point across the nicest way possible, but you can get your point across.
Absolutely.
So there's always a way where you can tell someone something that might, it might put you in an uncomfortable position. You might, that person might take it personal, but there's always a way to say it without having to be rude or being obnoxious about it, or making them feel worthless or anything like that. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to yell at someone. You don't have to make them feel like dumb or ignorant or anything like that. There's no reason for any of that.
Yeah.
So but you can sit down with someone and tell them in a nice way, hey, that was a really dumb thing you did.
What my boy Harvey Specter said: never embarrass someone in public. You can do in private.
Yeah.
But it's true, because one of your team members, she's made a couple mistakes, and I am one to be, I'm a little more forward, right? And I say, you suck. Like, what did you do wrong? And this person, one time I'm like, you know what? You just, I said the D word. You disappoint me.
Oof.
And it was the nicest thing, the nicest way. You know what, Letty, you disappointed me. She was fucking like,
Heartbroken.
call me a bitch, call me whatever, but don't say it disappointed at me, Hefe. You know, again, she's absolutely right.
Yeah.
You can say things that can send the message across without being
When
belligerent.
people
Absolutely.
respect you, and they're loyal to you, though I'll tell you right now, am I perfect? No, I make mistakes at work, but it eats at me. It totally eats at me because I know he was upset about it, and it makes me upset. That makes me upset knowing that he was upset at me, and sometimes he won't even, he'll just say a little comment, but I know, damn, I should have caught that, or I should have done this, or I should have did this. And it bothers me. And why does it bother me? Because I respect him.
Yes.
Because
we are harder on
yeah.
ourselves than he could ever be.
Yeah, because I respect him and his judgment towards me. I work really hard. I don't ever want him to think that I don't work. I work extra hard. Yeah. So any little thing that I feel like I fall through the cracks, it bothers me. I don't want to disappoint him. I don't ever want him to think that I'm not giving him my 110%. I don't ever want him to feel like I fell short. Like, Delilah, you failed me. You fell short on me, because that's just, that hurts me.
And the reason that I suggested finding someone to put on your team to do that, Justin, is because you are who you are, right? And you don't want to change that. Mm-hmm. You are an amazing person. You're a hard worker. You're a sweetheart. And there's no need for you to become that stern person to be able to drive your team, because I think that's going to change you a little bit. I think it's going to change the dynamic that you have going right now. And people love Justin. People love who you are, because you come across as caring, charismatic, hardworking. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if you start kind of switching, it's going to throw off the vibe, right? So you need to put someone in place that can do that for you. Again, why Delilah and I work so well together, because I can be stern with my team, right, in a very respectful way, and then they'll go to her and lick their wounds and be like, oh my God, Espy's mad, because they know that I'm upset because they made a mistake. But I haven't put them down, right? I haven't insulted them. I haven't made them feel terrible. I just explained to them in a very serious manner what their mistake was, how to fix it, right, and how it can't happen again. Right? And it's very rarely that our team makes the same mistake twice. They'll come to me and they'll tell me, I messed up, I'm so sorry, this is what. They'll tell on themselves because they already know.
All the
like,
time.
I don't want somebody coming to you and telling you that I did this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. And I appreciate that, but we have that trust now, right? We have that relationship. You just need someone to do that for you so that you can continue to be the Justin that you are, because you're amazing. You are amazing the way you are. You don't need to change. Build your team around you so that they can lift you, right? So that they can elevate you, so they can get you to that next spot that you want to hit.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think right now, to kind of sum and wrap everything up, right? I want to, first and foremost, thank you guys for your time, as that's a definitely important topic of today. And one of the most important things that I think I grasp out of this podcast for me is just, most importantly, number one, just respecting time, right? Like that's the most important part that I think it's really hard to comprehend until you get busy, until you get to the point where you have to respect. Time is one of those things where it's an asset, but we're never going to own it. So unfortunately, it's always going to run out. So it's just more so realizing and figuring out how to respect it. Number two, just, it's not, the journey is the number one thing that you have to love and enjoy every single moment of it. When you're growing in your business, whether you're trying to grow into a company. I was talking to one of my friends. He wants to be, a manager of a marketing firm, and he's going to all these events, doing these things that, understanding and realizing that this manager that is managing his team, he's done everything that he's on doing right now on the field, doing this. That's the one thing I tell the people that Angel and Carmen is like, everything you're doing, all the driving, the south side, up north, Elgin, all that is the stuff that I've done, right? Like, and I want you to understand, like you said, understand and enjoy the grind, because when you get to a certain point, you reach on top of the mountaintop, you're like, all right, I'm on top of the mountain. What's next? You're always going to have that. You're always going to have that drive. And it's important to understand, though, that journey is the beautiful part about it. You have to love it. You have to enjoy it. And then when you get to the mountaintop, hopefully one time you retire, that's where you look back on everything you accomplished and hopefully pass the torch to the Marseilles of the world, to my daughter, to everybody. So now they can invent themselves, and you could
Right.
see life through their perspective and how is life going through them, and just understanding that that's the beautiful part about life,
Circle
that
of
you
life.
exactly, and it's always gonna it's cyclical, and you can kind of see life in a different perspective. And then lastly, just enjoying the people that surround you.
Yes.
Like I think that, you know, I wouldn't be, again, I got blessed. I got the perfect coach. I got the perfect team. And, you know, there's a reason why Michael Jordan was 6-0 in the finals. He had everything lined up. He was an amazing player, but he also had everything around him that allowed him to be one of the best of all time. LeBron James is number one. But
You just said Michael Jordan. So what you're saying is you're gonna have Marseille in your team in the next 5-6 years.
But how funny is that going to be once Marseille does join the team and you start seeing, right, the things that he's doing, and you're like, holy shit, when I was your age.
Uh-huh.
And he's gonna be like,
Life is cyclical. Everything is a cycle. I mean, markets are cyclical. Everything's
It's a
cyclical.
circle
So
of life,
it
and
is.
life is short. I know that's the one thing that I think we take for granted so much is that life really is not guaranteed.
it really is. It's not
You know,
guaranteed. It
and
really
you
is.
know, something can happen in a split of a second that can change your whole life. So it is important to enjoy all those little moments with your family,
Yes.
with work, give back to the community, give back to other people, to do all that so that one day when you're 70, 80 years old and you're retired and you look back, you left a legacy, you
Yeah.
know? You can be like, I'm a Michael Jordan. I left a legacy. Nobody.
I left my footprint
will
here.
be 100 years from now, and people will still know who the hell Michael Jordan was.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
that is.
Isn't that powerful?
Frank
And-
Sinatra's of the world, all these
Yeah.
people that just fucking
You know,
left a
like,
fucking
you know,
impact. It's dope.
you're gonna outlive years, and someone's still gonna know who you are.
The goal is 2 generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, third
That's
one
the
you
goal.
get forgotten.
Yeah, after most people, first generation are forgotten.
Yeah.
If you can build enough so you can live 2 generations,
I
that's
think
success.
he might be going on his 3rd generation, maybe.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Oh, he'll be known for
Yeah, that's what
generating.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
because, you know,
Left so much of an impact.
everybody still loves to wear those uncomfortable Jordans.
You were one of them for a long time. No, but seriously, guys, thank you guys so much for your
Thanks for
time. I
having us,
appreciate it.
Dustin.
Everybody, if you guys haven't, made sure you take notes on everything. This was an amazing podcast. I really do appreciate everyone's love and support. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, turn your post notifications, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.